I love the X-Men. They are easily my favorite superhero team ever, have some of my favorite fictional characters ever, and consistently have the best stories. I grew up on the 90s cartoon and X-Men Evolution. I've watched all the movies and am desperately waiting for New Mutants to come out, and I own hundreds of X-Men comics, including almost the entirety of Chris Claremont's definitive run on Uncanny X-Men. Heck, I'm even named after Wolverine himself. So, when I saw a ton of my favorite YouTubers release videos under the One X-Cellent Scene banner, I knew I had to join. I was thinking about the final arc from X-Men Evolution against Apocalypse, when Kitty was sent back to the past in Days of Future Past, the terrifying X-24 scene from Logan, the hero speech in Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, the final battle in Tom Taylor's incredible X-Men Red series. But as great as those all are, it was issue 4 of the current Jonathan Hickman run of X-Men that took the cake for me. For those who aren't up to date with X-Men comics, the basics that you need to know is that all mutants are now living on the living island Krakoa, which has been declared a country and is sending out special drugs made on the island that cure most diseases and extend lives. All mutants, even evil ones, are welcome, and it's governed under the Quiet Council, which is a group of mutants who make decisions on what to do, with the 3 global leaders being Professor X, Magneto, and Apocalypse. Also, with the power of 5 particular mutants, any mutant is able to be brought back to life in their prime. With all that covered, let's get on to what makes this particular scene and issue so incredible. The issue begins with Professor X, Magneto, and Apocalypse arriving at a World Economic Forum, with Cyclops and Gorgon for security. And can I just say, these boys got the drip. I especially dig Magneto's white suit, and also seeing Apocalypse in a suit is kind of an incredible image. Also, if you don't know who Gorgon is, I don't blame you, but just imagine if those memes about studying the blade were a person, and were actually true. Then we see the Krakoan leadership trio get invited to the dinner with the other political representatives from places like Wakanda, China, America, and a few other countries. This is where the excellent scene truly begins. It all starts with the introductions, with Charles and Eric being courteous, but when asked how he should be addressed, Apocalypse says that the only names fit for humans to utter is Apocalypse, a significant change from his new name in Excalibur, which I have no clue how to pronounce and I'm not even going to attempt. One of the ambassadors proposes a toast to peace, and then on the next page, we immediately see strike teams getting ready to attack, and Cyclops and Gorgon are sent on their ways to dispatch them. However, one excellent thing about this scene is that the physical action takes a backseat to the real focus, that being the clash of ideals between Krakoa and the old world. Hickman is a masterful writer, easily one of the best comics writers of the current era, and this allows him to shine and have masterful and nuanced discussions and lay out what Krakoa will do in the future. We got a glimpse of it in House of X #1 with Magneto's "You have new gods now" lines, but that's nothing compared to how Magneto lays out what will happen in the future, and what would befall those who would try to destroy Krakoa. On top of the incredible writing, you have Lionel Yu's incredible art, and while I felt it was a bit stilted in earlier issues, he flexes his skills here. There are tons of dynamic shots between all those involved in the conversation, and anytime Apocalypse is shown, he just exudes power. Spicing up the discussion art is the Cyclops fight scene with masterful use of combat and great lighting from the optic blasts. Later on, we also see the carnage left in Gorgon's wake, which is just a gory massacre. Yet still, I think the most impressive part in this issue is Magneto eating a steak while putting all the leaders in their place. Yet I'm getting ahead of myself. The whole vibe of the dinner is easily felt with how the human ambassadors keep trying to get info or take digs at the Krakoans. However, this helps show a new side that's never been explored to the X-Men, even with past nations like Genosha and Utopia. Eric says that the new normal of Krakoa needs to be accepted, which could also be a dig at the comic fans who don't like it. And Apocalypse heavily emphasizes that while the Krakoan border is closed to humans, they are not hiding in the least. The one-ups and digs continue as the ambassadors try to disprove the effectiveness of the miracle drugs being sent out by Krakoa, which is their major and, I believe, only export. Yet Eric brings up the cascading effect provided by them, and further mentions that if they were only distributing them in the most profitable way, there would be a lesson learned from those around them, a theme which will come back heavily later. Then Eric quotes The Island by Aldous Huxley, I hope I pronounced that correctly, a book about a utopian island with a major emphasis on the benefits of drugs. But one of the ambassadors holds the fact that a human author had to be used, since there aren't any famous mutant authors. Then a point that is far too close to home today is how history is taught to people to be rewritten and unlearned when told to future generations. Heck, just look at major American historical events like Juneteenth, which I was not taught about in my AP United States history class that I took this year. Everything I know about it, first I learned about it from Twitter, and then, I went and looked up it on my own. Same thing with the Tulsa Massacre. A lot of people didn't know it was a real thing, myself included, until watching, the Watchmen show on HBO. These major events aren't talked about in history. Things being ignored or just completely incorrect, like what everyone learns about Christopher Columbus when they're kids, are major societal problems that have always continued. This is unlike Krakoa, where even the worst parts of mutant history like House of M aren't ignored, but rather explained of their significance. This all leads to one of the best comic lines ever, when one of the ambassadors asks what ended the Bronze Age, and Apocalypse simply responds, "Me." One of the ambassadors says that she's seen this before, and it's how it leads to war, but Eric assures her there will be no war. Things have changed with Krakoa, and this is no different. While in the past Magneto would have made a large show of his strength and power, they've now learned to use quiet weapons of finance and influence. Then, in the perfect deconstruction of these countries' tactics that would be used against them in a more efficient way, Eric delivers a chilling speech. "I've seen what you do here. Leverage people with debt. Make them pay you to be healthy and whole. Make them pay you to become educated. Make them pay you interest so they can have a place to live. Then when you own them, you control them. I have seen what you do. And now we will do the same. But better. Better versions of a better life. Better drugs for a longer, healthier existence. And then we will take the money, the outrageous sums of money you will give us, because it also means more wealth for you, and we will invest it. We will buy your banks. We will buy your schools. We will buy your media. We will buy your politicians. And then, when we have bought all the rest, we will buy you, because you have taught us that everything has a price, and we are happy to pay. Then, when we have this influence, we will use it. We will make sure that the wrong sort of people, and you know who, no longer have any economic power. We will not allow them inside our institutions, because it's important they do not have anywhere to peddle their dangerous, outdated ideas. And that is how it will end, like a fire with no oxygen. Yes, of course, there will still be people who fear and hate us. They just simply won't be able to do anything about it any longer. So as I said, there will be no war. Oh, and by the way, this really was fantastic. My compliments to the chef." God dang, bro, that speech is so good. After this speech, we see how Gorgon has dismembered the second group of strike team soldiers, yet not killing, as that's illegal on Krakoa. Cutting back to the dinner, the ambassador who brought the strike team is outed and tries to slander the Krakoans yet again, but Charles finally speaks up. After only a month of Krakoa existing, Charles was assassinated. However, the Five brought him back, and the human world is none the wiser that he was ever gone. A huge moment unfolds as Charles removes his Cerebro helmet and shows his face, assuaging any fears of this not truly being the Professor X we all know and love. He talks about how his goal with Krakoa is never to splinter off from the world, and he still wants to live as equals. He still loves humanity. However, he is done rolling over for his dream, and if anyone is opposed to mutants claiming what's rightfully theirs, then they should know things will end differently this time. The Krakoans exit the meeting, and as they do, Eric mentions how they're disadvantaged in the realm of global politics, but have great teachers in their peers, and if they're tested again, they will give a response. Every time I read this issue and read the dinner scene, I become more and more impressed with how perfect it all is. This issue has such incredible writing, art, and character work in a way that's a masterclass to all other writers. It perfectly shows both how the world is reacting to Krakoa, and in turn how Krakoa is reacting to the world. Even within Magneto, Professor X, and Apocalypse, they're all perfectly written in subtle ways you might not pick up on a first read. Apocalypse doesn't talk much, yet in those few instances he does, he pulls all focus onto him and commands the conversation. This not only shows the power he holds in his sheer voice, but how he finds discussing with the humans to be beneath him, hence why he only talks when he needs to. And especially if you read the other series he's in, he talks a whole lot, especially in Excalibur. Like, my man won't shut up sometimes. Then we've got Charles Xavier, the mutant these people would be on the friendliest terms with, and he continues that by removing his helmet to humanize himself and talking about his dream the whole way through. He talks about how despite everything he still believes in coexistence, and still loves humans, but in his talks there's an air of finality and intensity. While he still holds his own original dream, he has a more pressing and newer dream that is coming to fruition with what him and Moira are working on with Krakoa. Finally, we have the star of the show, Eric Lensher. Despite his new position as a quiet council leader, he still has all the same beliefs and mannerisms as previously seen. That's why he's the one who's talking the most, as he is famous for his speeches about mutant superiority and the weakness and shortcomings of humanity. It's easy to see why he acts like this as well, as this is what he's always wanted. This is a successful Genosha. This is proof that mutants are better, not just to him, but to everyone. It's his victory lap, and Krakoa's entrance onto the global stage is proof of that. Hickman's current run on X-Men has been astounding, and is currently shaping up to be one of the best runs in the entire series. And moments like this are exactly why. He's bringing mutants into a new era, uncharted territory for characters and readers alike, yet he has such a brilliant understanding of characters and dynamics that it all feels like a natural progression. The upcoming Ten of Swords event is sure to have tons of great moments, but nothing in the run has been comparable to this dinner scene in X-Men number 4. This is where Krakoa truly confirmed its role in the world. Up to this point, we've seen the beauty and splendor and even power of Krakoa in multiple titles, as well as seeing people upset with Krakoa in titles like X-Force and Marauders. But this is where it all clicked. Krakoa quickly ingrained itself into the world in a way where countries have to accept it or suffer, and they know this. Add on to that the new resolve mutant kind has gained in total, and the days of mutants being hunted on streets is gone. A new era has begun for mutant kind, and that can all be seen in this one excellent scene. Honestly, I gotta say, this is one of the coolest things I've ever done with YouTube. If you're not subscribed to him already, Nando V Movies is the man who started this. He was the same guy who did One Marvelous Scene before Endgame, where a bunch of YouTubers talked about their favorite scene. And so this is the same thing, but X-Men, and it's across all X-Men media, which, I'm a big fan of that. I love the X-Men, especially X-Men comics. So it's very cool seeing other people talk about their favorite X-Men stuff as well. And just these things, this and One Marvelous Scene, giving the opportunities for, smaller creators like me to express our opinions and get them seen by a larger thing, not just the luck of either the algorithm or whatever social media we posted on, if it gets picked up and, seen there, giving us, a place, that playlist to show and express our opinions and work. And I've seen a lot of good things already from the playlist. And I'm excited to see it grow, to see what else people talk about. And it's been really interesting seeing some unique perspectives and opinions on things that I didn't see, especially when talking about movies that I've watched, a ton of times already, and seeing how these different people just got so much more out of a scene than I did. And, in fact, this may be the case with a lot of people here. If you love X-Men, this is the perfect time to talk about it. Talk about your favorite scene, your favorite, everybody's got a favorite scene in some form of somehow. So why not talk about it now? You have an outlet for it. And so, again, Nando, I want to say thank you. Pick up the current X-Men run because it is incredible. And, pick up the other titles too because they're also great. But at least pick up the main X-Men book because Hickman he's crafting a huge narrative. It's got so many pieces. The Ten of Swords, which is coming up in September, I'm very excited for that. That event is going to be crazy. I'm going to be talking about it here on this channel. So, make sure to subscribe if you like that and want to stick around. But Hickman, he's building something big here, and I cannot wait to see the fruits of his labor. So thank you. Please like this video if you enjoyed. I'm going to link the playlist with all the other One X-Cellent Scene videos below in the description. Go check a bunch of those out because those are all really good. Honestly, that's one of those playlists where you can just click, relax, and just, spend a whole afternoon watching them. So thank you, everybody, for watching. And until next time, goodbye.